Leo, let's not dance around it. You're standing at the edge of something final. Not dramatic. Not hypothetical. This is the kind of edge that changes lives. A shocking truth is coming, a goodbye is already in motion, and right behind both is a miracle that's been waiting for your courage to show up. If you've been waking up with a weird tension in your chest or sensing that something is off, even when everything looks fine, you're not imagining it. That's your inner compass trying to pull your attention inward. And I know, Leo, you're strong. You're proud. You're used to being the one who holds it together. But this time, it's different. This time, you're being called to let it fall apart on purpose because something better can't be born while you're still pretending the old is enough. Welcome to eternal mindfulness. This isn't just a video. It's a checkpoint in your timeline. The kind that your future self will remember as the moment everything turned, not because someone saved you, but because you finally chose to save yourself. That's the power of this message. That's the power of this moment. Let me be real with you. You didn't find this reading by accident. You were guided here because you're ready, even if you don't feel like it yet. We're at the tail end of October. Astrologically, this is a storm. The full moon in Taurus on the 28th is illuminating deep truths about what you thought was solid: home, family, roots, commitments. Meanwhile, Pluto is moving in tight toward your sun, shaking foundations that felt untouchable. And Mercury in your 4th house is whispering secrets that your soul can't keep ignoring. This isn't just cosmic noise. This is personal. And it's loud for a reason. So let me ask you something. What are you still holding on to that's holding you back? Who are you protecting by staying small? Because this next chapter, the one that brings peace, prosperity, and purpose, won't wait forever. And the door doesn't open for people still gripping the past with both hands. If you're still listening, it means your spirit already knows. It's already nodding in the background. Maybe you've outgrown a relationship that feels more like survival than love. Maybe the job that used to fulfill you now drains your light. Maybe you've simply been living too long in a story that no longer fits the person you've become. Whatever it is, this is your moment to name it, face it, and release it. Because on the other side of the pain, the confusion, and the silence is a miracle with your name on it. But it doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who leap. Not recklessly, but faithfully, purposefully, even nervously. And that's enough. So, Leo, the first, invite you to stay with me. Because what we're about to explore might not just explain what's been happening in your life. It might finally make you feel seen. Really seen. And ready to move. Before we dive deeper, let me take a moment to say thank you for showing up. For listening with your heart, not just your ears. Every like, every comment, every subscription helps this space grow into something even more healing. You being here means something. It means you're not just curious. You're ready. So if you feel that readiness rising inside you, say so. Drop a comment right now: I welcome the truth and the miracle meant for me, or I'm ready to begin my next chapter. Because if this message reached you today, it's not just a coincidence. It's a confirmation. Let's begin. There are moments in life when the ground beneath us begins to shift, not because we're unstable, but because something hidden can no longer stay buried. And Leo, if you're honest with yourself, you've probably felt it too. That quiet tension. The invisible walls closing in. Conversations that leave you hollow. Dreams that feel too vivid to be random. Maybe you've been walking down metaphorical corridors in your sleep, long, endless ones, dimly lit, doors slightly ajar, but nothing ever truly opens. That's not just your mind wandering. That's your soul knocking, asking if you're finally ready to see what you've refused to face. This is the energy of the tower, judgment, and the moon all coming together. It's not a gentle tap on the shoulder. It's a disruption that feels both devastating and divine. The tower doesn't fall because you failed. It falls because the structure you were living in emotionally, spiritually, or even physically was never meant to hold the weight of who you're becoming. It crashes only when you've outgrown it. The judgment card rings like a bell in the background, and it's not asking for permission. It's announcing that the season of delay is over. This is soul alignment time. Truth time. Then comes the moon, perhaps the most haunting of them all. Not because it wants to scare you, but because it asks you to question the narratives you've wrapped yourself in. The illusions you've kept alive to feel safe. The faces you've trusted even when your gut told you to look closer. The moon doesn't lie. It waits. It waits for you to finally say, I know something's not right, even if I can't explain it. And the moment you do, something begins to shift. Awareness replaces confusion. And the veil slowly, mercifully starts to lift. I want you to understand this. Confusion is often just clarity we're resisting. That vague anxiety, the emotional distance from people you used to feel close to, that odd sense that your life doesn't fit anymore. It's not because something is broken in you. It's because something is trying to break through you. And until you allow yourself to acknowledge that, you'll stay trapped in cycles that were only meant to be chapters. Have you noticed the number 707 lately? Maybe it's on your clock, or a receipt, or a random license plate. In numerology, 7 is the number of divine insight and hidden wisdom. It doesn't just represent knowing, it represents seeing through. When it doubles, it's a message. What was hidden is now being revealed. And when you pair that with 0, the symbol of divine initiation, it means you're at the beginning of a truth that may shake you. But it will also set you free. So now the question isn't, is something wrong? The question is, what am I pretending not to see? Who or what have you made excuses for? Is there a version of you that you've been protecting because you're afraid of who you'll become once you let it go? The truth has a funny way of saving us, even as it terrifies us. But Leo, you're not built for half living. You weren't born to be caught in someone else's illusion. You're the sign of the sun. You burn away shadows not just for yourself, but for others too. Maybe that's why this revelation is coming to you now. Because you're finally strong enough to face it without running, wise enough to see it without judgment, and ready enough to let go without needing everything to make sense first. If any of this resonates, say so. Leave a comment and name it. Let this be the moment you stop hiding from your knowing. Write, I see the truth now, or I'm ready to stop pretending. That's how you turn an insight into a breakthrough. That's how you let your soul take the lead. There comes a time when the things we've built our lives around, certain people, roles, habits, even beliefs, start to feel strangely heavy. Not in a loud or dramatic way, but quietly, like trying to carry a suitcase we've long outgrown. And for many Leos, this is that moment. The message is subtle, but the meaning is profound. Something in your life has reached its natural end. And I know, endings aren't easy for you. You're loyal to a fault, and once you love hard. But sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is let go before something beautiful starts turning into a burden. This is the energy of the Death card. Not physical death, not fear. It's the spiritual kind, the release, the closure, the necessary transformation that makes space for something new to bloom. It's the kind of shift that doesn't ask your permission, it asks for your participation. If you've been sensing that a cycle is done, that something doesn't light you up anymore, whether it's a relationship, a job, or even a version of yourself, it's not your imagination. It's your intuition quietly calling you home. The Eight of Cups picks up where Death leaves off. It's not about grief, it's about bravery. It shows a figure walking away from something that once felt like everything. And yet, they know they can't stay. Not because they're ungrateful. Not because it was never real. But because the deeper call inside them can no longer be ignored. If you're feeling restless, if the things that used to excite you now feel hollow or muted, this card might be reflecting your inner truth. And here's the thing, walking away isn't failure. Sometimes, it's faith in action. Then there's the World, one of the most sacred cards in the deck. It appears when a karmic loop has been completed. When you've learned what you were meant to learn. When you've stayed long enough to gather the lesson, but not so long that the lesson becomes a cage. This card says, well done. You're free now. But freedom always comes with a choice. You can keep circling the familiar, or you can step across the threshold into something entirely different. I like to picture this moment like the sun itself, your ruling planet sinking beneath the horizon, only to rise again somewhere new. Leo, you are that light. You are meant to move, to rise, to evolve. So why stay where your brightness has started to dim? Sometimes we stay out of habit. Or guilt. Or comfort. And yet, our soul knows the truth long before our mind is willing to admit it. That's why this moment asks you to pause and write down 3 things you've outgrown. Not to shame yourself, but to honor your growth. Make it tangible. Speak it out loud if you have to. Because naming what no longer fits is the first step in freeing yourself from it. This week especially, treat your body gently. Transitions live in our cells, not just in our thoughts. Try warm ginger water in the mornings. Smoothies with greens to support your energy. Skip the caffeine if you can, it'll just amplify anxiety during this shift. Choose colors that speak to what you're ready to feel, turquoise to purify, earthy golds to ground. Let yourself move slowly. Let your nervous system catch up with your spirit. Endings aren't punishments. They're invitations. And this one? It's deeply personal. The world you've known is closing. But not because something's wrong. Because something more aligned is finally ready to begin. If that thought stirs something in you, don't ignore it. Let it rise. Let it lead. Let it become the quiet strength that walks you forward, one honest step at a time. By the time we reach this part of the journey, something in us has already shifted. Even if we haven't spoken it aloud, we can feel a quiet knowing that we're not the same person we were at the beginning. And maybe that's the point. Every goodbye carries with it the seed of something sacred. something waiting to be born from the space we just cleared. For Leo, this isn't just about survival anymore. It's about stepping into a life that finally fits. That's where the Ace of Pentacles and the Star come in, not just as cards, but as symbols of what happens when we dare to let go of what no longer carries us. The Ace of Pentacles is often misunderstood. People think it's just about money or career changes. But energetically, this card is about embodiment. It's about receiving something real, tangible, abundance, stability, an opportunity that roots itself into your life and says, "You've earned this." Not because you hustled harder than anyone else, but because you aligned your energy, you listened when it would have been easier to numb, and you honored the cycles that asked for your trust. This card shows up when the universe wants to invest in you through resources, yes, but also through timing, alignment, and flow. The Star, following the emotional storm of the previous cards, is like standing barefoot in the quiet after the rain. The world is still wet. Things are still messy. But the light is breaking through. This card holds the vibration of healing, yes, but also of clarity. The kind of clarity that comes not from figuring everything out, but from finally accepting what's true. And when those two cards meet, the Star and the Ace of Pentacles, you get a moment that can reshape everything. A soul-aligned opportunity meets a heart that's ready to receive it. For some Leos, this may look like a new job or project that reflects your real passions. For others, it might be a relationship that feels eerily familiar, like you've known this person before even if you just met. And for many of you, it could come as a financial door opening that you thought had been closed for good. But make no mistake, this gift is not random. It's the result of the inner work you've done. The boundaries you've set. The silence you've sat in. The truth you've claimed. So how do you align with this kind of gift? How do you prepare your system to receive what's already trying to find you? This is where intention becomes everything. I encourage you tonight to write one simple sentence on paper. I am ready to receive the gift that belongs to me. Nothing fancy. Nothing forced. Just truth, written by your hand. Place it under your pillow. Do it again for the next 2 nights. And don't look for instant magic. Just watch how the air around you changes. How you carry yourself differently. How life begins to arrange itself in ways that whisper, "You're getting closer." There's also energetic support available if you need something tactile. Crystals like pyrite can help draw in grounded wealth and self-worth. Aquamarine can hold your faith steady when doubt creeps in. These are not lucky charms theory reminders. Anchors. Echoes of your own energy calling your miracle home. Now ask yourself the real question. If this gift truly arrived tomorrow, would you be ready to receive it? What would you have to release mentally, emotionally, even physically to make space for it? Because all of this isn't about deserving. It's about capacity. And building capacity starts with willingness. So take a breath. Ground your feet. Feel the space that's beginning to open. You're not chasing something outside of you. You're aligning with what has always been yours. And that, Leo, is the kind of magic that doesn't just change a day, it changes a destiny. There's a certain kind of tired that doesn't come from lack of sleep, but from carrying the weight of something unspoken. And Leo, if that fatigue has been sitting in your chest lately, if you've been feeling unusually restless, conflicted, or like you're living slightly out of sync with your own truth, then I want you to know you're not imagining it. You're standing inside the energy of a powerful cosmic warning. Not a threat, but a wake-up call. And the deeper part of you already knows exactly what I mean. The Devil card isn't here to scare you, it's here to reflect something you've been tolerating for too long. It speaks of patterns that once helped you survive, but now keep you small. It shows up when you're holding on to a version of life that's familiar but no longer nourishing. Maybe it's an old story you keep repeating in your head, maybe it's a role you feel stuck in, or a relationship that runs on guilt instead of growth. The devil doesn't trap us. It just shows us where we're still chaining ourselves to comfort at the expense of freedom. And then comes the Seven of Swords. This card doesn't yell. It whispers. It's that internal voice that says, maybe I don't need to deal with this yet, or, it's not that bad. But it is. The Seven of Swords appears when you're tiptoeing around something you know needs to change, but you haven't had the courage to say it out loud, maybe not even to yourself. It often shows up when you're betraying your own clarity just to keep the peace. But peace built on avoidance isn't peace. It's delay. And delay, especially now, is costly. We're in the season of the Taurus full moon illumination that demands honesty about what you truly value. Taurus is not just about money or possessions. It's about your inner worth, your sense of safety, your right to stability. This moon brings light to everything that's been hidden in the shadows of your self-worth. And if you don't act on what you see, if you choose to keep your eyes closed, you risk repeating a karmic loop that could echo out for years. That's not drama. That's alignment. Time moves differently when you know better and still choose less. So if you've been feeling like something is pushing up from beneath the surface, like your own instincts are growing louder, it's time to pause and listen. Anxiety, tightness in your chest, disrupted sleep, miscommunications, odd coincidences repeating themselves, these are not random. They're signals. Your energy is trying to show you where something no longer fits, and where a deeper truth is waiting to be spoken. Here's a simple but powerful self-healing practice. Each morning, take 5 minutes to write this sentence at the top of a blank page: the truth I'm avoiding right now is, and let the rest spill out without censorship. You don't need to fix it. Just name it. Honesty doesn't require perfection. It just requires presence. And now I want to ask you directly, are you putting something off that you know deep down you need to face? If you feel that lump in your throat when I ask this, that's your answer. Don't run from it. Just acknowledge it. That's where the healing begins. If you're ready to stop pretending, even if you're scared, I invite you to leave a comment below. I'm ready to be honest with myself. Because the truth doesn't hurt you, it frees you. And I promise, the moment you stop betraying your knowing, life will rise to meet the version of you that no longer settles. There's a moment in every transformation when the fear is louder than the hope, when you're standing at the edge of something new and everything in your body wants to turn back. But here's the truth, Leo, you weren't born to turn back. You were born to burn forward. To carry the kind of fire that doesn't ask for permission, that doesn't apologize for needing more, and that doesn't dim itself to stay safe. And I know that lately, you've been feeling that edge. That quiet cliff inside you, asking, am I ready to begin again? The Fool appears here, not to call you foolish, but to honor your bravery. This isn't about leaping because you're reckless. It's about leaping because you're done pretending that where you are is enough. The Fool teaches us that beginnings rarely come with guarantees, but they always come with power. And sometimes, the most spiritual act isn't meditating in stillness. It's saying, even though I'm scared, I'll go anyway. It's packing your bags, leaving the familiar, and trusting that your wings will know how to open on the way down. Then comes the chariot, your energy in its purest, most determined form. In astrology, the chariot is momentum built from choice. It doesn't move just because the road is clear. It moves because the driver has decided. That's you, Leo. When you finally choose yourself, not in theory, not in words, but in real, daily action, the universe doesn't just support you. It joins you. The chariot reminds us that alignment isn't about perfection. It's about direction. It's about knowing your yes and letting that yes pull you out of every, almost, you've stayed in for too long. And then we receive the Ace of Wands. This card is sacred ignition. It's not passive light, it's living flame. It's inspiration that doesn't just feel good, it moves you. It's the creative force inside you that's been waiting for your permission to break free. And when this card shows up, the question is simple. Will you act on what's stirring within you, or will you watch it cool into regret? I've seen this moment play out in real lives, over and over again. Someone picks up the phone to make a call they've feared for months, and suddenly, everything starts changing. Someone applies for a role they thought they were unqualified for, and they get it, because the energy they carried said, I'm ready. Someone starts moving their body again after years of numbness, and they find not just strength, but clarity. It's not about the outcome. It's about the choice to begin. So if you're asking yourself, where do I even start? Start small, but start now. Make the call. Apply anyway. Walk for 20 minutes and breathe like it matters. Don't wait for motivation. Move first. Let your body remember what your soul already knows. You're not stuck. You're just not lit. Yet. Wear something orange this week, let it activate your solar fire. Add silver to remind yourself that clarity doesn't have to scream to be heard. Color carries frequency, and right now, your energy wants to glow from the inside out. And if no one has told you lately, let me say this as clearly as I can. You were never meant to be background light. You were never meant to stay dim just to make others more comfortable. You are not here to play small. You are the flame. You are the wildfire of purpose. And your truth? It was never meant to whisper. It was meant to set skies on fire. So if this message reaches you now, take it personally. It means your time isn't Kaminjit's here. You just have to say yes. And then say yes again tomorrow. One honest decision at a time. One brave spark at a time. That's how flames grow. That's how you come back to life. My beautiful soul, you've reached the end of this sacred transmission, but don't mistake this as an ending. This is a threshold. You are not here by chance. The truth revealed today wasn't meant to scare or confuse you, it was meant to awaken something ancient and powerful within you. Something you've always known, but perhaps have forgotten under the weight of past patterns and inherited pain. You are not just facing a goodbye. You are standing before a miracle dressed in unfamiliar clothes. The cards didn't come through today to predict your fate. They came to open a dialogue with your soul. The death you sense said, but a relationship, a job, a version of yourself is not punishment. It is permission. Permission to lay down what no longer belongs in your future. And what follows next? The energy of resurrection, of reward, of divine realignment. The Fool asks you to leap. The Chariot tells you to claim. And the Ace of Wands whispers, the spark is in your hands now. Light it. But here's what I need you to remember: there is no rescue mission coming. And that's a good thing. Because you don't need to be saved. You need to be reminded that you are the fire. That you are the door, not the one endlessly searching for it. That everything you thought you had to chase was quietly waiting inside you to be allowed to rise. So now, I ask you, what truth inside you have you been too afraid to voice? What door do you keep standing before, waiting for someone else to open it? What would shift if you gave yourself full permission not just to dream but to live the life your soul keeps pointing you toward? You are not too late. You are right on divine time. And if you felt the stirring in your heart while watching this, if something in you whispered, "This is for me," then it was for you. Not as entertainment, but as invitation. I want to leave you with a blessing. I bless your courage. I bless your release. And I bless the divine reward your spirit signed up for long before this lifetime. If you feel this message was meant for you, leave a comment below saying, "I am the one who was chosen." Let that be your energetic signature, a declaration to the universe that you're stepping through the portal. And if someone in your life needs to hear this too, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness, and share it with someone whose spirit is ready to rise. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming. And the miracle was never meant to miss you.